Oh, hello everybody. Hello everybody. I am now going to read the story of Little Miss Splendid. And I have to confess that until we read a story a little while ago, in which Little Miss Splendid appeared, I didn't even know she existed. So she's quite unusual for one of the Little Miss people in the way she looks. I don't know if any of the Little Miss experts out there can remember what she looks like. She's very distinctive. Because although she's like a lot of the Little Misses, very round, and in fact her round nose is the same colour. She's a sort of probably you'd call it an olivey green, I should think. She has very smart looking high-heeled red shoes. She has a very smart red handbag, and she has on her head an enormous red hat with red and white spots. And there you can see Little Miss Splendid. Very different, isn't she, to most of the Little Miss characters. And she's walking along with her nose in the air, which I think is to make her seem as if she's very posh. Now, whether she is or not, we'll find out. And whether she... Oh, yes, I've just seen a picture of her house. That looks a pretty posh house, isn't it? That looks huge with all those windows. It's like one of those stately homes we go to. That are run by the National Trust. We go there at the weekends and see all the old furniture. So let's see what the story of Little Miss Splendid is, shall we? Nothing was too good for Little Miss Splendid. She lived in a huge house, we just saw the picture, didn't we? Surrounded by large gardens. She slept in an enormous bed with silk sheets and silk pillowcases, and silk is really soft and very expensive. Oh no, she bathed in a gold bath, a bath made of gold. She dined off silver plates. Oh, she was splendid. Well, at least she thought she was. Little Miss Splendid thought a lot of herself. In fact, she thought about little else, always thinking about herself. Me, 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 me. Of course, just because you've got lots of splendid things doesn't make you very splendid yourself, does it? Or make you very important. One day, while taking a stroll around her gardens, Little Miss Splendid came upon a small door in one of the walls. She'd never noticed it before. Can you imagine? Your gardens are so big that you have a door or a gate in the wall and you don't even know it exists. I wonder what's through here, she thought, and opening the door, she stepped through. So there she is, out in the gardens, and she's found the blue door. And she found herself on a road. Along came Mr. Small out for a short walk. And you remember Mr. Small, he is very small, as you can see there behind her, and he's round and red with a blue hat. "Good morning," he remarked, politely raising his hat. Little Miss Splendid stuck her nose even high in the air and walked past him as if he wasn't there. What a common little man, she thought to herself. How rude. Whenever I'm out walking, I always say hello to people. When they're running past me or cycling or walking, I say, hello, good morning, good afternoon. And I really hate it when they don't say hello, good morning, good afternoon back. It just seems rude to me. But anyway, she came to a bus stop. Mr. Happy and Mr. Daydream were waiting for a bus into town, and there you can see them. If I remember rightly, Mr. Happy is the big, fat, big, round yellow one, in which case Mr. Daydream, must be the blue one, like a cloud. "Hello," grinned Mr. Happy. "Who are you?" "I," she replied, "am Splendid." "Oh," said Mr. Happy. "Are you going to catch the bus?" asked Mr. Daydream. "Me," she said, "the bus? Never. I," she went on, "have never ever in the whole of my life travelled on a bus." An expression of distaste crossed her face. "You have to sit next to people on buses," she went on, "and that would never do." "Oh," said Mr. Happy and scratched his head. He couldn't think of anything to say. What's wrong with sitting with people on buses? I think she's very, very rude. Miss Splendid walked off with her nose very high. in the air. Miss Splendid arrived in town. She looked at herself in all the shop windows as she walked down the street. I must say, she thought to herself, I do look absolutely splendid. And then something caught her eye. There, in the middle of the window of the hat shop, was a hat. And you've seen, she likes a big posh hat, doesn't she? This wasn't just a hat. This was a hat and a half. The most magnificent, sumptuous, desirable, gorgeous, spectacular, amazing, splendid hat you've ever seen. And there it is, look. Fantastic colours. It's got flowers on it. It's got all sorts of big bow and a ribbon round it. Amazing hat. Miss Splendid marched into the shop. She snapped her fingers and a sales lady hurried. That's very rude. Clicking your fingers at people, that's very rude. Oh, come here, look after me. You say, excuse me, please, could you help me? A sales lady hurried to her side. Good morning, madam, said the sales lady. Miss Splendid ignored her. Can I help you? I, announced Miss Splendid, wish to try on the hat in the window. Miss Splendid looked herself in the mirror. Magnificent, she breathed. I look absolutely magnificent. I'll take it, she announced. And there she is, look, wearing the magnificent hat. But don't you want to know how much it costs? Asked the sales lady. Costs? Inquired Mrs. Splendid loftily. I never discuss money matters. Just send me the bill. And she marched out of the shop. Little Miss Splendid stood on the pavement and held up her hand. Taxi! She announced in a loud, important voice. A taxi stopped. Take me home, she ordered. And she went to get in, but of course she couldn't. Why not? Because her new splendiferous hat was so big she couldn't get it into the taxi. Driver, she said, you should get yourself a larger taxi. In the meantime, she went on, I shall walk. The taxi driver grinned, and little Miss Splendid walked along. Oh, perhaps it's better to walk anyway, she thought to herself, so that everyone has the chance to admire my magnificent new hat. But then it happened. Now, I don't know what's going to happen, but it seems to me she can't see where she's going. Maybe she's going to try. Who knows? Oh, no! Oh, no, we can't do that. It started to rain, and the trouble was, the more it started to rain, the more it rained. And the trouble was, the more it rained, the more Miss Splendid got wet. And the trouble was, the wetter she got, the wetter the hat got. What a sorry sight, I think you'll agree. This is obviously not meant to be a hat for wearing in the rain. The bus, on its return journey from town, passed her. Mr. Happy and Mr. Daydream, on their way home and sitting in the dry, looked out of the window. Look at the state of that hat. Isn't that awful? I say, remarked Mr. Happy, looking out at the bedraggled figure trudging along in the wet. What a splendid sight! Mr. Daydream giggled. Splendid, he agreed. Miss Splendid, looking anything but splendid, arrived home. However, after a hot bath in her gold bath, and after a boiled egg in a gold egg cup, eaten with a silver spoon, she felt much better. In fact, later on, she spent an extremely pleasant evening looking at, well, what do you think she spent all evening looking at? No, not a television. She just looked at herself in the mirror. Well, I'm not sure about little Miss Splendid. I'm not sure I like her very much. Do you? She's a funny lady, isn't she? She obviously thinks that she is better than everybody else. And nobody is better than everybody else because we're all special. We're all splendid in our own different ways, aren't we? I like to think I'm splendid, perhaps because I wear all these different waistcoats. Do you think that's what it is? Anyway, that's the end of the story of Little Miss Splendid. I hope you enjoyed that. Be happy. Bye.